Why is God in the background of my video? Is what I want to know. Maybe if I just sit like this and cover God up because he's trying to like steal the spotlight. Or maybe he is the spotlight. What? Maybe if we... Okay. Cool. That's not gonna work. Alright, ignore the light. I'm here today to do the Star Trek book tag. I wasn't tagged, but I wanted to do it. It's by J.D. Archer over on J.D. Archer. I was thinking of Star Trek the other day and I was like, there must be some sort of book related tag video thing for it. And there was. I feel like there are probably more, but this was the first one I found, and I found the questions interesting enough to film it. So here I am. I'm actually sick right now. It's low-key annoying. Right, let's just get into it before my storage gets full again, because it usually does in the middle of videos. So essentially this tag is built up in a way where like you answer, like every question is based around one of the TV shows and you get to answer like a book for every TV show. That makes sense. I have 2 answers for 2 of the questions because I feel like you could interpret them in different ways, and I sort of wanted to try to do that. So I have my questions here. Oh, you can actually see the edge of my laptop. That's cool. I'm gonna be looking at them here. First question is Star Trek, the original series, a corny yet entertaining book. Right. I feel like when I was trying to think of what is corny, I feel like I mostly came up with like books that I think are a little cheesy, and I'm not sure if that's the same thing, but I'm just gonna go with it. The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. It still has the sticker on it from when I bought it. This was like, okay, Becky Albertalli, like, she writes really like sweet stories that deal with, you know, more important, heavier topics. Like in here she talks a lot about like being a young but like fat woman, which the main character is, and feeling like because of like your appearance or whatnot, you're not worthy of having like being the object of affection from other people, if that makes sense. Essentially, Molly, which is our main character, has had a whole bunch of crushes in this book, but like she never pursues them. It's nothing serious. It's just, you know, she finds someone cute for like a little bit, and then she finds someone new, you know, we all have those things, those instances where we're just seeing someone and we're just like, oh, I like you, but I don't want to actually date you. And in this book, that's sort of what Molly has been dealing with for a long time, and she's trying to like overcome that, and also sort of just, I wouldn't say she necessarily like doesn't accept herself for who she is, but she has definitely like confidence issues in here, and there were quite a few like cornier moments or like cheesier moments, as with like, that's just part of life. She's like 16 or something in this book, maybe not, I don't know, maybe she's 18, and it was still a very like entertaining, fast-paced read. Like, I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite Becky Albertalli, but it is still like, it felt good to see a main character, a Jewish fat main character, like be the protagonist for once, you know. I'm a little bigger. I'm not like super big, like I'm not overweight, but I am a little bigger, and it felt nice to just read about someone who goes through like similar things that I've gone through, and like it doesn't matter that it can be a little corny. It was still very entertaining. And that's my answer for question 1. Next question is Star Trek The Next Generation, the sequel that was better than the original. Right. The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. I loved like every book in the series, don't get me wrong. I really loved The Raven Boys as well. This is, by the way, the second book in the Raven cycle. if you didn't know. But I feel like in this book, like, we already have the main storyline established, which is essentially that this bunch of, like, these teenagers come together in the search of a dead Welsh king, which is, like, the absolute, like, basic plot line of this, but there are a lot of other things going on. In the first book, we get to meet them all and, like, see Blue become friends with the Raven Boys, but in this book, we already have that, like, foundation, I guess, and we get to read more about Ronan, and obviously, like, new things happen new things happen in all the books, but I feel like we didn't really need the introductions, because we already have been introduced to these characters. We obviously see relationships grow and change, and we get to meet new characters, but we already have the basic, like, foundation, which is why I usually think that's, like, second books in series are better, because we don't need to be introduced anymore. We already know that, so we basically, like, jump into storylines. And in this book, we get to see more of Ronan and his problems and what's going on with him. Like, Ronan is my favorite character. He is a bit of an asshole, but he's still my favorite, which is also probably why I really love this book. And I think, like, some people might have problem with the first one. Like, I know this series isn't for everyone, but I really hope that they will hold on and actually, like, at least read the second one, because, like, if you like Ronan, otherwise I feel like maybe not, but I liked it. Next question is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, a book or a series with a great ensemble cast? I had two answers for this. Where are they? First one, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. These characters, like, as the book progresses, we can see, like, they're so flawed. Some of them are, like, kind of terrible. But I feel like if you're not here for the story, at least you're here for the characters with this. I feel like a lot of people, like, who didn't like this book didn't like the characters, but I feel like the people who like the book like the characters, if that makes sense. The storyline is basically the main character, Richard, I think, is that his name? He, meets these people at this university, and, like, they're studying, like, Greek, ancient Greek, and these people are, like, very special people, and he's, like, dying to be in that group, but, like, once he is in that group, it's very dysfunctional and sort of chaotic, and, like, a lot of things happen, and they murder one of their friends. Like, that's the first thing we get to find out in this book. And, like, reading the book, like, seeing how everything starts, and, like, how, like, wondering how they would get to that point, I think that makes the characters even more interesting, because you know that they're capable of this thing, and you're wondering how. And I think that's really what made this book. First of all, like, the writing is amazing, obviously, but, like, the characters are just, like, they're just interesting to read about. And that's why I think this is a great ensemble cast. My second answer for this is The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakovic. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, I'm sorry. I feel like this is, like, sort of the opposite of The Secret History, because these characters, like, they are terrible, and we know that, like, some of them are really terrible. Like, we get to see that properly. It's not, like, us wondering how they got there, but it is more of a, like, they move on from the terrible things, because, like, these characters, this is essentially about a guy named Neil. This is not his real name, he has a secret identity because his dad is, like, out to kill him, and he gets recruited into this XC, which is a made-up sport, this, like, XC team at a university, and meets these other characters, and that team is for characters, or people, I guess, who need, like, a second chance, but, like, society wouldn't give them a second chance for various reasons, but, like, the coach does. So we already know that these characters are really flawed and has problems, and we know that some of them, like, still have a lot of problems, but we still, like, throughout the series, this is, like, the first book is not like really what I'm aiming at here, but like the rest of the series is a trilogy. You get to see these characters grow in so many like different ways, and that's why I think like the ensemble cast in this is amazing. Maybe I should hold my book like this, by the way, to like hide God. Anyway, next up we have Star Trek Voyager, I don't know, a book or series involving epic journey. 2 answers for this as well. The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This book is just so much fun. It's basically about this guy named Monty. He and his best friend Percy and his little sister Felicity go on this like grand tour of Europe that apparently you did back in the day. This takes place in like the 1700s, and like he was gonna go on this journey before settling down with like his dad's business or whatever. And a lot of things go wrong, like definitely not according to plan. And it was just like so much fun. Just like with like Becky Albertalli's books, it deals with heavier topics. It talks about like homophobia, obviously since it is based in the 1700s. It talks about not being what your parents expect you to be and like not living up to their expectations. It talks about abuse and like substance abuse and also some racism. Like it has a lot of heavy topics in here, but it's packed into this fun journey that is like a lot deeper than you would expect it to be. I really loved it. There's a sequel that's come out like this month, about Felicity, the younger sister, which I'm really excited to get to. Yeah, I just really recommend this. It's like an epic journey all over like Europe. I love it. My second answer is The Martian by Andy Weir, which is a very frustrating book. I feel like people might have seen the movie, but like the book is very, like it can be a little too much at times, just because it's a lot of like, this is basically about a guy who gets stranded on Mars and he's trying to survive and like get back home. It's basically like Mark is like, he like the like first half of this book is written as like logs that he writes about how things are going, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, I did this, it's gonna be fine, and then the next page is like, I'm gonna die, and it's just like so frustrating because like he's trying so hard but like things aren't going his way, and then he tries so hard again, and like it's just like ups and downs like throughout the entire book. And I feel like by the time you're done, you feel like you've been on this journey with him. Like, it feels like I've been stranded on Mars, you know? It's very, like, it's different. Definitely different from The Gentleman's Guide, because, like, it's frustrating as fuck. And you can feel his desperation. It's like, and, yeah, that's why I'm answering this, because what the fuck. Next question is Star Trek Enterprise, a book or series with a bad ending. I could only think of one answer to this, and that is Allegiant by Veronica Roth, the third and final book of the Divergent series. Divergent was a lot of like fun to read back in 2014, I think it was, and it's about this like, how the fuck do you explain Divergent? It's about this society where you get like divided into these, or what do they call them? I haven't even like watched the last movie. I don't remember. But like basically our main character is in Dauntless, maybe, because she has a lot of courage and stuff. She's pretty brave and blah blah blah. Basically it's like dystopian. They're trying to overthrow the like government, whatever. The last book ends in a way that it pissed off a lot of people. And I didn't really care when I read it. I was like, sure, like I wasn't very critical. But like the more time that like passes by, the more I like don't like the concept of how it ended. But at the same time, I get it, like you want to depict some sort of reality, but I also feel like maybe like if that's how you decided to end it, like it means you didn't probably like think through things properly, I think. And I feel like there could have been other ways I don't know the ways, but I feel like they are. And that's why I think maybe this is a bit of a bad book, because it ends on the easier note. Like, you took the easy way out, maybe. That's sort of what I'm thinking now. I haven't obviously read it. In 4 years, I have never watched the movie. I watched the other two, I think, but I didn't watch this. But yeah, that's my answer. Cool. Mostly because I don't actually know other, like, books where I wasn't very, like, where I was very unsatisfied with the ending. I couldn't think of one. The last question is Star Trek Discovery, your most anticipated future release. When this tag was created, the TV series Discovery wasn't out yet, hence the question. For me, it's the sequel to Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Science. He's currently writing it. This is one of my favorite books. It's about a guy named Aristotle who meets this guy named Dante, and they form a friendship, and a bunch of stuff happens. It's about family, about being like a Mexican American, about family secrets and whatnot, and it's about identity, sexuality, just very, like, I love this book so much. I read it twice. It's one of my favorites. And I'm very nervous about the sequel, but I'm also, like, super excited, obviously. Like, I really anticipate whenever that will get released, but I'm so scared that things that I've sort of built up in my head won't be fulfilled, if that makes sense. Like, there are certain things in this book that I wish we would have seen that we never got to see, and now I'm, like, sort of holding on to a hope, like, that we will get to see these things. But there are also things that I feel like obviously I trust the author to know his characters, like, well enough to know what they will do in certain situations, but I'm also, like, sort of scared because I feel like his writing has changed a lot. This was released in 2012, I believe. I've only read, like, two other of his stuff, but his recent novel, The Inexplicable Logic of My Life, the writing style was quite different, and the way the character, who is older than Aaron Dante, the way he acted was, I feel like it was very naive in a way, and, like, kind of childishly annoying. Like, I don't know how to explain it. He was obviously like, I didn't hate him, and obviously he was different than Aaron Dante. Like, it's a different story, it's a different, like, thing entirely. But because of that, I'm, like, scared that if that is, like, how he writes now, like, it was nothing wrong with it, but he's different from Aaron Dante. And the atmosphere he created with his words and, like, the vibes is what I fell for, like, the tone of the book. And I'm scared that it's gonna be different in the sequel. So, but I'm excited for when we eventually will get it. Yeah. That was it. That was the tag. I'm not tagging anyone because I don't know anyone. But, like, if you want to do it, do it. I'm not gonna stop you. Me and God here he's like, there he is. Me and God will say goodbye for now. I'm gonna go see what I can do about this cold in mine. Maybe you can't hear it, but I can feel it, okay? I've been Nat, and I hope you have a good day. I shall see you when I see you. Goodbye.